Well, we have 10 games. We've already done 7, so that'll put us to 17, and we'll do about 10 every day until we get to the 57 FBS versus FBS games. Before we get to them, just a couple things. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Free college football picks are updated all season long. Free picks every day from all the major sports. We also have, we have MLB, we have NFL. Of course, on the horizons right now is NHL as well as NBA. And of course, we do have several live shows, so it's a good time to subscribe. And also, if you would support our channel and like the video, thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. Remember, visit Tony'sPicks.com. We're a multi-capper site showcasing our top cappers in the industry. Click the link to the hot cappers, get signed up for the long-term passes. You can see here, we've got some really good performers here in college football this year. As we'll take a look at here at what the college football numbers look like. We've got our man Collins Brown, who's been hot. Hollywood Sam Ramon has been put good production here in the college football area. So get signed up to one of our long-term passes. As you'll scroll, you'll see that we have our best bets. Each capper can designate one best bet per sport per day. $15 premium pick as well. Each capper can designate one of their picks on their card as a $15 premium pick just to introduce you to your service. And you can see many of the cappers do that, and they make it their best bet because they really want to make a good impression on the for first-time customers. 3-packs, good value there on 3-packs. So check the 3-packs as well if you're looking for great value there on a 3-pack package. And of course, our promo code, you can save 20% off all premium pick packages. When you use the promo code TonyT at checkout, you can access our page by clicking the link in the description, then the All Cappers tab, and get signed up. We always love to hear from you guys, so go ahead and post your picks in the comments below. All right, let's get this one started. All right, we got Michigan and Indiana college football pick. This one here is on Saturday. Michigan moves to 5-0 after their 27-14 road win at Iowa. Wolverines made the most of their 327 yards in the win as they had success running the football. 172 yards on 42 carries. Michigan stuffed the Iowa run game for only 35 yards on 24 carries. Quarterback J.J. McCarthy completed 75% of his passes, but only 6.5 yards per pass attempt, and had a touchdown pass. On the season, McCarthy is completing 78% of his passes, 6 touchdowns, and 10 yards per pass attempt. Indiana fell to 3-2 after their 35-21 road defeat at Nebraska. Back-to-back road losses by double digits for the Hoosiers. Offensively, Indiana gained only 290 yards on a bad Nebraska defense, 67 rushing on 23 carries. Hoosiers did stop the Cornhuskers' run game, but allowed 270 passing yards on just 27 attempts. Missouri transfer Connor Bazelak completed only 50% of his passes, 5.1 yards per attempt. And at Cincinnati, only 47% completion rate, 4.2 per attempt. 3 interceptions the past 2 games for Bazelak. Michigan defense a lead again, holding opponents at 252 yards, 2.9 yards per attempt, 5.4 yards per pass attempt. Hoosiers offense only 3.4 yards per rush, 5.7 per pass attempt. The play here will be on Michigan at -22. TCU and Kansas college football pick Saturday. TCU improved to 4-0 after their 55-24 home win to Oklahoma. Monster offensive performance by the Horned Frogs, rolling up 668 yards on the Sooners in a balanced effort. TCU's run game produced 361 yards rushing on 41 carries. They did limit Oklahoma on the run and passing game. Senior quarterback Max Duggan completing 70% of his passes, 3 touchdowns, 9.2 yards per attempt. On the season, Duggan career high 74% completion rate, 10.5 yards per attempt. Now Kansas, they're 5-0 after their 14-11 home win to Iowa State. Jayhawks win despite only gaining 213 yards of offense. Defensively, they stymied the Cyclones' run game for only 26 yards on 30 carries. Quarterback Jalen Daniels completed only 50% of his throws in the win with 6.6 yards per attempt. Now season-wide numbers, 68% completion rate, 9.2 yards per attempt. TCU offensive performance outstanding, even their 2 road games this season. Horned Frogs' toughest opponent for Kansas this far. Kansas' past defense and offensive performance last week that concerned the play here, TCU -7. Buffalo versus Bowling Green college football pick for Saturday. Buffalo improved to 2-3 with their 24-20 home win to Miami, Ohio. Bulls win despite gaining only 278 yards. The run game limited the Bulls, and they did give up 240 rushing yards on 38 carries. They did limit the Red Hawks to 119 passing yards on 26 attempts. Bulls quarterback Cole Snyder completed only 54% of his passes, 5.4 yards per attempt. On the season, he is completing 60%, 6.7% per attempt, and a run threat. 44 rushes with 3 touchdowns. Now, Bowling Green, they improved to 2-3 after their 31-28 road win at Akron. Falcons did have a balanced attack, gaining 422 yards with 175 rushing on 36 carries. Bowling Green was able to contain the Zips passing game. Now, quarterback Matt McDonald in the win against Akron, 62% completion rate, 8.5 yards per pass attempt. That was a season high. On the season, McDonald, 57% completions, 13 touchdowns a pick, and 6.3 per attempt. Bulls had a good road win at Eastern Michigan in MAC play, and the Falcons gave up over 400 yards to Akron. The concern, the play here will be Buffalo -2. Georgia Southern and Georgia State college football pick Saturday. Georgia Southern fell to 3-2 after their 34-30 road defeat at Coastal Carolina. Eagles were able to move the football for 462 yards in the game. The run and passing game was effective. What hurt Georgia Southern was their 335 passing yards allowed in 34 attempts and 5 yards per rush attempt. Buffalo transfer quarterback Kyle Van Treese completed 60% of his passes in defeat, only 6.6 yards per pass attempt. On the season, Van Treese 61% completion, 6.7 yards per attempt, but 7 picks. Now, Georgia State, they're now 1-4 after their 31-14 road win in Army. A really strong offensive performance for the Panthers, gaining 458 yards on the Black Knights, 299 rushing on 46 carries. They did limit Army to 1 of 8 passing and survived, allowing 7 yards per rush attempt. Furman transfer quarterback Darren Granger, 8 of 12 passing, 157 yards, 13 yards per pass attempt. On the season, Rangers completing only 54%, but a career high 8.3 yards per attempt. Now, both defenses struggling and not getting pressure on the quarterback, but Georgia Southern is giving up 5.5 yards per rush, and the Panthers are a high-volume running team. Back-to-back road games for Georgia Southern, and they played their 4th road game in 5 consecutive weeks. The play here will be Georgia State -2.5. Akron versus Ohio college football pick 4 action on Saturday. Akron fell to 1-4 with their 31-28 home defeat to Bowling Green. The Zips have shown improvement the past couple of seasons and gained 408 yards in defeat. They ran effectively with 184 yards on 42 carries. The defense struggled by allowing 175 yards rushing on 36 carries and 247 passing with 29 attempts. Quarterback DJ Irons against Bowling Green completed 60% of his passes, 3 touchdowns a pick, and 6.8 yards per attempt. He is a run threat and rushed for 105 yards on 23 carries. Ohio 2-3 after their 31-24 road defeat at Kent. Now the defense here struggled for the Bobcats in defeat, surrendering 734 yards, 338 rushing on 59 carries. Ohio against the pass surrendered 398 yards on 37 attempts. Bobcats a pedestrian running performance here in the game. Quarterback Curtis Rourke did complete 64% of his passes, 8.3 yards per attempt. Now on the season, he is completing 68% of his passes, 8.2 per attempt. Akron has covered 2 straight behind some improvement here. Ohio has given up 578 yards a game on defense. And DJ Irons is a viable offensive threat for the Zips. The player will be Akron +11.5. USF versus Cincinnati college football pick Saturday. USF fell to 1-4 after their 48-28 home defeat to East Carolina. Bulls a poor defensive performance, giving up 575 yards to the Pirates, 465 in the passing game on 41 attempts. They didn't move the ball effectively, run and pass. Baylor transfer quarterback Gary Bohannon had his best performance of the season, completing 64% of his passes, 3 touchdowns, and 9 yards per pass attempt. On the season, Bohannon completing only 55%, 6.3 per attempt. Now Cincinnati, they're now 4-1 after a 31-21 road win at Tulsa. Bearcats finished with 364 yards in the win. They ran effectively, 198 yards on 32 carries. Cincinnati stuffed the Golden Hurricanes run game, 36 yards on 45 carries. Quarterback Ben Bryant completed a season-low 55% of his passes, 6.1 yards per pass attempt. On the season, Bryant is completing 65% with 8.4 per attempt. USF on the road had a recent 41-3 loss at Louisville, gaining only 158 yards. Bulls defense giving up 488 yards, 6.1 yards per rush, and 71% completion rate with 8.5 yards per pass attempt against this defense. The play will be Cincinnati -27.5. Ball State versus Central Michigan college football pick. This one is on Saturday. Ball State 2-3 after an overtime 44-38 home win to Northern Illinois. Good offensive performance by the Cardinals, gaining 480 yards but only 77 rushing on 31 carries. Defensively, Ball State struggled in run defense, allowing 332 yards on 57 carries. Quarterback John Paddock completed 69% of his passes with 6.9 yards per attempt. Paddock, 3 touchdowns and 2 picks in the win. Season-wide numbers for Paddock: 65% completion, 6 picks, 6.6 yards per attempt. Now Central Michigan 1-4 with their 38-17 road defeat at Toledo. Offense struggled in defeat, gaining only 285 yards, while with 33 rushing on 26 carries. Chippewas couldn't stop the run game, giving up 261 yards rushing on 50 carries. CMU fumbled the ball away 3 times. Quarterback Daniel Richardson completed just 54% of his passes in defeat with 5.5 yards per pass attempt and 2 lost fumbles. Richardson is completing 57% of his passes on the year, 6.3 yards per attempt, down considerably the past 2 seasons. Ball State's pass offense really encouraging here against a struggling CMU team that's defending the pass. Richardson's accuracy is also a factor to back the underdog here. So it's Richardson's inaccuracy and CMU's poor pass defense. The player will be Ball State +8. Wisconsin versus Northwestern college football pick Saturday. Wisconsin 2-3 after their loss here at home to Illinois by margin. It was an ugly game as they gained they gave up 34 points and they gained just 208 yards. An embarrassing 2 rushing yards on 24 carries for the Badgers, which fired their head coach this week. They also gave up 5 sacks. Defense contained the run game of Illinois, allowing 137 yards on 42 carries. Quarterback Graham Mertz completing just 53% of his passes in the loss with 6.4 yards per attempt and 2 interceptions. Of course, they didn't score very much there, just 10 points. On the season, Mertz 63% completions, 8.7 yards per attempt, but 5 interceptions. Now, Northwestern, they're 1-4, a 17-7 road defeat at Penn State, gaining only 241 yards of offense. Wildcats defense saved some face here for the Wildcats, holding the Lions to just 360 yards, limited their run production to 220 yards on 58 carries. Quarterback Ryan Helinski completed only 40% of his passes in defeat, 5.7 yards per attempt. On the season, Helinski 58% completion rate, 6 touchdowns, 4 picks, and 6.4 yards per attempt. Past 3 games, just 54% completion rate. Both teams carried by their defense with shortcomings offensively. Wildcats under in 4 straight. The play here, Wisconsin and Northwestern go under, total of 44.5 points. Middle Tennessee State and UAB college football pick. This one Saturday. Middle Tennessee State fell to 3-2 after their 45-20 home defeat to UTSA. Blue Raiders defense torched for 590 yards in defeat. The team surrendered 423 passing yards on 37 attempts. Middle Tennessee State did pick off 3 passes. Quarterback Chase Cunningham completed 62% of his passes with 6.6 yards per attempt. On the season, Cunningham a career high 67% completion rate, 8% per attempt. 8 yards per attempt. Now, UAB fell to 2-2 with that 28-24 road defeat at Rice. Blazers lose despite getting up only 209 yards with under 3 yards per rush. A UAB fumble was returned for a Rice touchdown. Quarterback Dylan Hopkins completed 71% of his throws on Rice, 11 yards per pass attempt. On the season, Hopkins, a 68% completion rate, 9.1 yards per attempt. Now, this is the best passing offense that UAB has faced on the season. Cunningham's performance is encouraging here in this one. And here for the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders is definitely encouraging there. So the play here will be on Middle Tennessee State here at plus the 9.5 points. East Carolina versus Tulane college football pick. This one here is on Saturday. East Carolina improved to 3-2 after their 48-28 road win at USF. Strong offensive performance by the Pirates, 575 yards behind their passing game. Defensively, they give up 455 yards to USF. Quarterback Holton Ahlers had his best game against an FBS opponent, 75% completion rate, 6 touchdowns, 11 yards per attempt. Tulane, they're now 4-1 after their 27-24 road overtime win, and that was against Houston. Green Wave win despite only 273 yards of offense for the game. Their run game produced 84 yards on 28 carries. Defense limited the Cougars to just 373 yards, 175 rushing, but on 48 carries. Correct. Michael Pratt questionable, but did practice on Tuesday. He's on track to play according to the coaching staff. Pratt is completing 63% of his passes with 9.4 yards per attempt. He's also a run threat with 5.2 yards per attempt. You know, the Green Wave defense has been outstanding this season, allowing 259 yards, 3.3 yards per rush, 5.4 yards per pass attempt. Pirates' home loss to Navy a concern as Tulane has the ability to run the football. The play here, Tulane -3. That was our college football pick show here. We're in week 6. This was part 2 with 10 games. That leaves us off with 17. We'll have 10 more for you tomorrow. And make sure you like, subscribe, set notifications so when we drop videos, you get them. And you get them fast so you can, if you line up with our picks, and you can also, you bet them, you'll get the best numbers. All right, so make sure you do that. Check out our live shows and check out our website at Tony's Picks for our best bets, our premium picks. Tony T, back later with more free picks.